Hello, National University Virtual High School students. This is Mr. Goyette. I got a question today from Katrina. Just wanted to respond to her. Katrina, thanks for sending in your question. You were asking about Thomas Jefferson, the essay that he wrote about the virtues of farmers and agrarian culture in the United States in general. And the question that we're looking at for Unit 3, Assignment 1 in APUSH History A reads as follows. What might Jefferson mean by saying that land in Europe is either cultivated or locked up against the cultivator? Basically, this requires a little bit of understanding of what was called the enclosure system, although you don't have to know this, but it helps. The enclosure system, or simply enclosure, came about in the 16th century and in early modern Europe, and basically what this meant was that farmers and landholders basically started fencing off their land, so the prospects of you being able to graze your goats or your cows or to plant certain things in an area that wasn't necessarily your land wasn't open to you. So that means that the land, it's the arable land where you could plant or the land where you could graze your cattle, was locked up or fenced in this enclosure system. What he says, it's either cultivated or locked up. So if it's cultivated, obviously someone else planted crops there, so you can't benefit from that arable land, because if you go over there and start planting your crops, you're going to upset your neighbor. You can add that enclosure movement. A simple answer would be the land especially in Europe, and especially in England where he was coming from, is going to be used up. There's not a lot of it. When you can contrast that with the Americas, there's plenty of land. Obviously, there's conditions where you have to consider Native American or Indian lands, but we know that Jefferson and the founders and the population on the whole aren't too considerate of where Indian land starts or begins, for a couple reasons. One being that the Native Americans don't fence off or mark land; they use it seasonally, and second of all, by and large, there are some exceptions to that. So those land is being taken essentially from the Native Americans. What does Jefferson say about those who labor in the earth? You'll notice in the essay, I think this is in the first paragraph, he simply says, those who labor in the earth are the chosen people of God, if ever he had a chosen people, whose breast he has made his particular deposit for substantial and genuine virtue. Basically, he's saying, if there are a chosen people out there, it's got to be the farmers, because they have to focus on their work, and that work generates not only wealth for themselves, but feeds the population. Now he goes on to say, it is the focus in which he keeps alive that sacred fire which otherwise might escape from the face of the earth. Corruptions of morals in the mass of cultivators, farmers, is a phenomenon of which no age and no nation has furnished an example. So he's basically saying there, you can't find a bad farmer. Although we know Jefferson's a bit biased. He is championing the farming culture, the agrarian elite, and he's as a slaveholder, even though he had some issues with it, we know he's going to hold on to his slaves through the duration of his lifetime. He's trying to make the claim that farmers are more virtuous